Hi, I'm Hunter. I'm the founder of Tendrl. At Tendrl, we focus on simple, seamless, and secure connectivity. And to highlight that today, we have a microcontroller. This is an ESP32, and we also have an accelerometer. So as I move around this device, it'll capture the XYZ axes. And I have a very simple script here. It's doing just that. It's running locally, capturing that data every 200 milliseconds, and printing it out in a Python dictionary so it can map to this plotter. So if I run this, you can see as I move it, we get that graph here. So the goal today is to take this simple rudimentary locally running application and get it into the cloud and into a service that we already have running. This is the only thing I've prepared for this demo is a public facing server that can accept JSON data in XYZ axes, the same way we saw in the Python script, and graph that for us. So the first thing we need to do to get this going is we need to download our client code onto this device. And we made that quite simple. We have a single install script that you can get from our GitHub, but you can download it here in our documentation as well. So I'm going to go ahead and run this. I have it downloaded. What it's going to do is, if one does not exist, it's going to create a configuration file in a JSON format that needs our Wi-Fi credentials and eventually an API key. So I'll go ahead and run this. What it's going to do is it's going to create this JSON file. There we go. I'm going to move this over to here in a different window to add in my Wi-Fi credentials. Great. Alright, so now I'll run this script again, and it's going to start downloading all that client code that we need to get our client up and running. The next thing we need to do is we need to go into the Tendrl platform and create an API key. So to create an API key, we need to create an entity. An entity is just a construct that is a role, which has a policy for role-based access control, as well as an API key to do the authentication and authorization. So I'll go ahead and create this, and we'll leave the default for now. We'll get a one-time key. You can download if you want. I'm just going to copy it and go update my configuration file that I put my Wi-Fi credentials in earlier. Great. So that's been updated. So the only thing we need to do now is we need to update our existing code with a few lines to make some changes. So all we need to do is import the client. We need to create a client and instantiate the client class. And then we start the client, which will connect the Wi-Fi and also the background processes to get the data being captured and batching and sent to the cloud. And the last thing, we just need to add a Python decorator here, and it will capture any of the output from this function and send it as a message into the Tendrl platform. So now I'm going to go ahead and run this again. It'll do the exact same thing because we're not actually editing the existing function, we're just adding functionality to the existing function. So it'll connect to the Wi-Fi, and then we should start seeing it there. Great. So if I go to my entity, we'll now see it's online. We see the resources it's using, which is quite minimal considering all the functionality of this client and the disk usage. So we have the memory and disk usage, and then all the data that we're getting that we expect in the same format. And if I refresh that, getting a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this really quickly. So great, we've got our data from this device and now into the Tendrl platform. We want to take it one step further and get that data moving into our existing service, which is a HTTP server, and then another service in the future. But for now, we're just going to go ahead and edit this in a single way. I've already created what's called a flow here in our platform, but really it's just a webhook. So I have the API endpoint of that server, and we're doing a post. And the only other thing we need to do is we need to give it a tag. So here we've set Excel as the tag. So I need to go back to my function and add in some tags. We can add up to 10 tags. And the cool thing about this is we actually can map functions directly to automations. So you can have multiple functions doing varying automations. So now I'm going to run this again. Again, this doesn't change any of the functionality of the application, but it's going to start kicking off some automations. So I will run this again. Now that we have our tag set up, if I go back to my entity and look at its messages, as it comes online, great. Now we should start seeing our flows happening. Great. It's kicking off our flows. We see its success, and now if we go to our web server, we can see we're getting real-time data to the web server with just a few lines of code in a matter of minutes.